Mike and Tom are registered with Stewart Partners Global Advisory LLC.
Common Sense Finance with Mike Wiginton and Tom Farrell of HL Wiginton Capital Management, an independent investment and financial planning firm in downtown Jasper. Mike is a chartered financial analyst charter holder, and Tom is a certified financial planner professional. They are here to discuss and give their thoughts on current financial and economic matters. Now, with Common Sense Finance, here are Mike and Tom.
All right, welcome back to another edition of Common Sense Finance. This is Mike and I'm Tom. Today, we're going to talk about what's going on with the economy, but more specifically, measures of, what signals would you get if you were going into a recession? And if you listen, depending on who you listen to or watch, it's, everybody has their, this is happening, so we're definitely going into a recession, or this hadn't happened, we're definitely not. But one of the, I guess the more accurate indicators historically has been the yield curve.
Yep. And so we just wanted to spend, because I think we brought the yield curve into a podcast that we just did, and we didn't really explain what it was. And I know we're going to get some pushback from that. I've got a couple of folks in mind that are going to say, they're going to send us an email or a phone call, which is great. I love it. And so let's just talk about the yield curve. All right. So let me lead in by saying this. Let's say that you're a lender, that you wanted to loan money to somebody. Let's say you're going to loan money to me, okay? And I wanted to loan money, or I wanted to borrow money for 6 months. You would say, okay, I'm willing to do it. Here's the rate. But let's say I wanted to borrow the money for 20 years, okay? You might, if you're an astute lender, you would say, well, I know things can happen over 6 months, but there's a lot more things that could happen over 20 years. And therefore the risk goes up. So if I'm willing to make that 20-year loan to you, Mike, it's going to be at a higher rate than the 6-month loan. Yeah. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody.
Plus they're tied up their capital for longer. Yeah.
Absolutely. You've got to pay the lender for that. Yeah. So here's the deal. So a normal slope, and we're going to put some charts up for you, okay? A normal sloping yield curve for a healthy economy is upward sloping from left to right. So you got a crooked arm. So a 1 year rate would be less than a 2 year rate, and the 2 years less than the 3 year, and the 3 years less than the 4 year, and so on and so forth. And somewhere out there it tends to flatten out, okay? But it's an upward sloping. An inverted yield curve is just the opposite. It's downward sloping, where the 1 year rate is higher than the 2 year rate, and the 2 year rate's lower than the 3 year, and so forth, and it's a downward slope. And somewhere out there in the future, in 10 years or wherever it happens to be, it flattens out again. Okay, so let's stick with that inverted yield curve, downward sloping. Why that's a negative sign, all right? The bond market is forecasting that yields, interest rates in the future are going to go down relative to today. And the reason they would be going down is in order to stimulate a weak economy, okay? The Federal Reserve has lowered rates to try and stimulate a weak economy. That's what an inverted yield curve is predicting, all right? It's predicting that weak economy. And again, and you said it, there's no such thing as perfect. There's no 100%. But historically, the predictive power of an inverted yield curve is undeniable. And so recently we've had a significantly inverted yield curve. We'll see what happens with that. That's what I have to say on the inverted yield curve.
And just to talk about, you said the bond market, and you're talking about collectively all the millions upon millions of entities that are involved in buying and selling bonds and issuing bonds.
Well, the yield curve is typically based on Treasury yields,
right? Okay,
but most everything else is based on is earmarked off of what they're pricing things relative to Treasury. So
right.
so you could look if the Treasury curve is inverted, your corporate yields. Well, it depends on what level of corporate yields. I don't want to make this too complicated, but more than likely it would be inverted. But the yield curve is based on Treasury yields.
Gotcha. Okay. I just want to clarify that.
Okay.
All right. Is that it?
That's it.
All right. Thank you.
Just can't believe all the things people say. Can't you face it? understand.